Coming up on the left is the Old Course Hotel. This is where some of the famous golfers stay on their visits to St Andrews. It is very exclusive and has its own swimming pool, jacuzzis and saunas. It also has a professional golf shop where there are professional golfers on hand to give you advice on aspects of the game. This is the only golf establishment in St Andrews that actually trains its own golf instructors. We should normally have a lovely view of the 17th green called the Road Hole, the Swilcan Bridge, which is nearly 900 years old, and the 18th fairway. St Andrews has long been called the home of golf due to the creation of the game here around 1350. Mary Queen of Scots played a very basic game here in 1567, and in 1754 the Society of Golfers was formed, which was later to become the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St Andrews by William IV in 1834. The RMA, as we now know it, is recognised worldwide as the ruling body of golf. The R&D Clubhouse is a very impressive building. There are no women allowed inside it except for one day of the year called St Andrews Day. It is a highly exclusive men-only club. The famous Old Course was laid in 1754 and later changed by the famous Tom Morris Sr. in 1870. The Road Hole that we can see now used to be the first green when the course was played back to front. Tom Morris was a very famous golfer. He and his son won the Open Championship many times. The Tom Morris Golf Shop sits on its original site on the right-hand side of the 18th green. There are another 6 courses in St Andrews: the new course laid in 1895, the Jubilee in 1897, the Eden in 1912, the Strathtyron in 1993, the Balgrove, a great 9-hole course for beginners, and the Castle course, which we will see later on. This place is definitely a golfer's paradise. We are now travelling around to the 18th green. Coming up on the left is Optaloni's golf shop, which has been in the family for over 100 years. Willie Optaloni won the Open Championship in 1893 at Prestwick. We are now travelling in golf place. Coming up on the left is the 18th green. This is the most famous green in the world of golf. Also on the left is the R&D Golf Club. The green grassy area on the right is the Bowbutts. This is where the young men in the 16th and 17th centuries practiced their archery. Archery at that time was more important than golf. Also on the right is the British Golf Museum. This has an abundance of technology and has won many awards. Ahead of us now is the West Sands, an area continuously winning Blue Flag awards for its cleanliness. The West Sands was used for the opening sequence of the film Chariots of Fire. The film was based on a local man, Eric Liddell from Crieff, who was an Olympic runner who refused to run on a Sunday because of his religious beliefs. The royal couple, William and Kate, were often spotted walking along the West Sands in the evening. Ahead of us now is the new golf club, St Andrews Links. This is a golf club for those who play on any of the courses. Visitors are made very welcome and can use the restroom and shops. Names and dates can be found on the side of the monument. Behind the monument is the St Andrews Aquarium. Long before the aquarium, an open-air swimming pool inhabited the site. It was known as the Step Rock Pool. Prior to that, there was a natural pool known as the Witch's Lake. If you were suspected of being a witch in St Andrews, this was where you were thrown in. If you managed to get out, locals claimed Satan, your master, helped you, and you were subsequently burnt. If you did not get out, then death was inevitable, and you would drown. This was not a hopeful situation to find yourself in. We are now travelling in Murray Park, and as you can see, it is full of bed and breakfast guest houses. They all have a very high standard, and most guest houses in this area have en-suite facilities. We are now travelling onto North Street, and as you can see, it leads straight to the cathedral. The reason the three main streets were built so wide was for the thousands of pilgrims that used to come here every day to worship the holy shrine of St Andrew. The house to the left of the cinema was the birthplace of 4 times Open champion Tom Morris. He lived in St Andrews from 1821 to 1908. Coming up on the left is St Salvador's College and St Salvador's Chapel, which is an old 15th century Gothic building. St Andrews universities dominate this street. Bishop Henry Wardlaw founded the university in 1411. It was the first in Scotland and comes third in Britain after Oxford and Cambridge. It caters for almost 6,000 students, most of whom are residential. It's no wonder they bought up so many of the hotels. The distinctive red gowns were first worn in 1672. As the students progress through their university years, they wear their gowns slipped further over their shoulders. The idea is they are stripping of academic ignorance. The building on the left after the college gate is the Younger Hall. It is used by the university for graduation ceremonies and was gifted to the university by the Younger family, who are famous for making beer, Younger's special beer. It was opened in 1929 by the Duchess of York, known to us as the late Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth. The small cafe on the right, the North Point, is where the royal couple often stopped in for a coffee in between studies. This area used to be known as Ladyhead and was a fisherman's area. The houses are very old, and the last one on the right has been transformed into a museum which you can enter free of charge. The museum opens at 2 p.m. and closes at 5 p.m. Unfortunately, we are not able to take the bus down to the castle, but if you look down to the left, you can see it, and I can tell you something about it. The castle was founded in the year 1200 and was a fortress for the bishops, archbishops and cardinal. It is protected on 2 sides by the cliffs and the sea. This is where Cardinal Beaton sat at his window and watched the martyr George Bishop being burnt at the stake. The initials GW are on the road in front of the castle where this happened. Cardinal David Beaton met his very brutal death here at the hands of some very discontented Fife lords, some of whom are said to have had Protestant sympathies. As you can see, we are approaching the cathedral. It was founded in the year 1168 during the reign of Malcolm IV. After many years of trouble, it was consecrated in the year 1318 in the presence of King Robert the Bruce. It has had quite a checkered history. It is also the place where 4 martyrs were condemned to be burnt at the stake. History has it that it was sheer neglect that caused the cathedral to fall into ruin. In 1649, Parliament authorised the ruined stones to be used to build the harbour and its wall. The square tower in front will be mentioned later on in the tour. There is also a very interesting burial ground around the cathedral with many of the famous golfers such as Tom Morris and his family buried there. It is well worth a visit. If you look over the right-hand side of the bus, you will see a cross on the ground. This is a martyr's cross and is where the fourth and last martyr was burnt at the stake. He was an old man of 82 years old and his name was Walter Mill. Ahead of us now is the Pens, which leads down to the harbour. Pens is an old Scottish word meaning a gateway to a close. If you should be walking around this way late at night, you may meet the White Lady who is said to haunt these parts. The house on the left is Queen Mary's house, which is where the ill-fated Queen of Scots lived during her visits to St Andrews. Coming up on the right is a very attractive house, number 19, the one with the red pan tiles and the white door. If you look above the doorway, you will see a very interesting sundial. It has a vertical sundial, and there are not many of those left in this country. It dates from medieval times. The owner of this house also owns the bakery in the centre of town, Fisher and Donaldson's, fantastic bakers. We are now in Abbey Street, and on the right is the Byre Theatre. It started its life in 1933 when a group of young actors hired a byre, or cowshed, and transformed this into a small theatre for 70 people. It was so popular it lasted more than 60 years. It sadly closed due to financial difficulties. The White House ahead of us is now called Duffin Hill. Duffin is an old Scottish word for rubbish, and this area at one time was full of squalor. There were hundreds of people living here under canvas in very poor conditions. If you were caught stealing in this area, you were hanged without any hearing or court of inquiry. On the left and over the wall is St Leonard's boarding school, founded in 1877, with intentions for providing the very best in education for children. There are some 330 children enrolled here, the majority of whom are boarders. 20% are from overseas. One of the main features of this site is the wall on the left built by Prior Hepburn in 1523 to mark the boundary of this priory. In total, the school occupies over 27 acres and the fees for one term are over £5,000. With the year consisting of 3 terms. The clubhouse is situated as the heart between the Torrens and the Tippets and caters for all golfers' requirements. Its surrounding deck balcony allows stunning panoramic views as well as keeping watch over its golfers. Looking 12 miles across the Eden estuary, you may see the golfing town of Carnoustie. This is where Aberdeen Bourne already won the 1999 Golf Open Championship. The hotel itself is Scotland's newest 5-star resort, which has 209 guest rooms, a European spa and unrivaled conference facilities. Now, most of the rooms have been named after famous Scots. For instance, the Robert Louis Stevenson Suite and the Robert Burns Building. This is where Prince William became a member of the Spa and Fitness Centre. If anyone would like to leave the tour for some refreshments at the clubhouse, you will be made very welcome. You can rejoin the tour in 1 hour's time.